All right, we are at 5:30, so I am going to call the meeting to order. And I will start by acknowledging that we are on the treaty territory of the Anishinaabe, which is defined within the pre-Confederation treaty known as the London Township Treaty of 1796. Throughout time, this region has also been the home to the Haudenosaunee and the Lenape peoples. And we are grateful for the opportunity to work on this land. The first item of business, of course, is the acceptance of the agenda. And we'll look to see if there's a mover and seconder for our agenda. Moved by John and seconded by Shelley. All those in favor? Okay, that's carried. Moving right along, we have disclosures of conflict of interest. If anyone has any to declare, now is the time. And I'm not seeing anyone with any conflicts to declare. So we will move right along to approval of the minutes of the previous meetings. So look for a mover and seconder and see if there's any conversation around that. Moved by Gary and seconded by John. Any comments or questions on the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor? All right, that's carried. Moving right along at this rate, this is going to be a very fast meeting. Next item is our communications. There is the one item on the agenda that I've submitted indicating that I would like to step back from the chair. I'm not leaving the board, but with all of the other responsibilities that I have right now, I'm finding it very difficult to keep up on all of them. I want to be very much involved in moving this board forward, but I need to recognize when I have to share the load. So I've indicated that this will be my last meeting as chair. And we did have a conversation because Mr. Squire actually served as chair for, was it 2 months, Phil?
Yeah, 2 months.
2 months when you were last appointed, and then circumstances took him away from us. And then he was able to come back, and he'd expressed to me that he would be willing to resume the chair. Of course, if someone else is interested in taking that chair position too, we can have an election on that. I see Adrian shaking his head profoundly that he doesn't want the job.
That's right.
So what I'm going to do here is first I will look for a motion to receive my communication.
I'll make that.
And that's moved by Adrian and seconded by Tammy. And all those in favor. So that creates a vacancy in the chair. And I will now look for any nominations. We will fill that spot right away because we always have to have a chair. So I will look for nominations for the chair position. Shelley?
Thank you. I'd like to nominate Phil Squire for the position of chair.
Thank you. Mr. Squire, will you accept that nomination?
I will.
I see him nodding his head yes. Are there any other nominations from the chair? And you can nominate yourself if you wish to. I see a huge stampede of people getting their hands up there. A whole lineup of no one else. With that, I'm going to look for a motion to appoint councillors. Oh, almost said that C word. Mr. Squire, not Councillor Squire, Mr. Squire to the chair. And I see, John, you had your hand up and seconded by Josh. All those in favor? And that appears to be carried unanimously. Are there any objections besides Phil's wife?
My wife. Can I just say, yeah, can I just say, Sean, that when I had to leave council and had to leave this position, it bothered me a lot that I left. And in fact, I remember walking into the office and giving Paul my credentials that got me in, and I felt pretty bad. And I think he looked at me and he said, "Is it something I did? I mean, you hired me about a month ago, and now you're leaving." And so this is really, I really appreciate this because there was a lot of guilt that I can now hopefully work hard and put it behind me, and that feels really good. So thank you very much for your show of support.
Thank you for that. And I'm just going to very quickly say, first of all, thanks to Shelley for filling in for the first half of your absence there, Phil. When she passed the baton to me, she was a great support and updated me on everything that was going on. And thanks, of course, to Paul and all the staff and the rest of the board members for the support and the great conversations that I've had with all of you as chair over the last few months. Like I said, I'm not going away. Paul, that means I'll continue to bother you by email with some things. And certainly we will, anything that you need to get up to speed with, Phil, by all means, you know where to find me, and I'm happy to sit down and chat with you about where things are, and I know Paul is too. So I'm going to say thanks for the opportunity. I look forward to continuing to work with this group. And with that, I am going to, at item 7, turn the chair over to Mr. Squire as our new chair.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Again, thank you very much. And I'll do absolutely the best I can with this position as we move forward. So thank you. I don't think there are any delegations that we have tonight, and I don't think there are any presentations. So we'll move right on to the consent agenda items, which are 2 staff reports, and perhaps you've received them and reviewed them. Maybe, Paul, you can just provide any update or any additional comments you want before we move it. And second, receipt of. I'll turn things over to you.
Thank you. Through the chair, we have been quite busy through the summer at LMCH with the town halls. We completed 9 town halls across our communities, listening to our tenants, and just it's really impactful to understand how tenants are experiencing our housing and the differences that experience is based on location in the city and the tenant population and just so many factors. And it's so easy to say LMCH and sort of lump everybody in together, but we're really a series of small communities that differ based on their needs and how they're experiencing us. So I think that's always important. You know, there is some key themes emerging through what's said and what we're hearing, really about community safety at some of our sites, communication with LMCH. I think there's some frustration in getting and being responsiveness to what we're hearing from tenants, and the follow-up isn't what tenants are looking for. So we really need to understand that and address that. Pest control is a critical issue on some sites, and when it's an issue on the site, it's a primary issue on the site. So it's sort of really understanding what sites we need to sort of really dig into on that. And there's a big interest, and we're hearing on improvement in programming and services across our sites. So whether it's the seniors who want more programming, or it's everybody's sort of an investment in the community space, the grounds, and making sure the partners are coming in to do work. So there's a lot that we sort of need to organize and respond to and plan for, but it's really good to hear that. I think that's the sort of the key point for the town halls. We have not scheduled the remainder of the town halls, but we're working on that. We want to just sort of got to pace that based on other things in the organization. The other thing of note for the CEO report is we had a staff barbecue on August 24th. It was organized by our social committee, really trying to empower staff to build the culture in a positive way. And it was an exceptional afternoon where just folks just were, you know, were able to be social and outside of the workplace and really make connections. COVID made it so that new staff hadn't met each other. Staff who had worked together consistently for years hadn't seen each other, or except for over the phone. So it was really a positive experience. So we want to build on that. And the social committee that I identify, Heather, Stephanie, Laura, Mary, or Maria and Glennis, really taking a lead on that. And we want to let them sort of work with staff and do the things that are best for the organization to sort of build some of that positive energy. The other key things to note from the CEO's perspective is the change in the human resources team. Kim Graham, our manager of people and culture, has moved on for another opportunity. She joined us just as the pandemic started. I think just really appreciate what she was able to do and a steady hand through an uncertain time. Her and her team had continued to sort of do the recruitment and all the things we needed to do. And just on the recruitment note, just letting know that we are continually bringing on new staff. Our manager of community engagement has started this week, and we're excited to start those conversations, which is a critical piece of the work we do, as well as some frontline staff supporting tenants. So there's lots of good things happening, some more internal movement of staff to positions that they've applied for, which is really beneficial for them. That said, we do struggle with maintaining staffing levels at the front line, as well as just the length to fill some manager roles. So there is a number of outstanding job competitions out there. So just we're working on that. And just a little different for us, we're using a recruiting agency to hire 2 management positions that are specialized just for a capacity across our HR, but also to make sure we get the best candidates to be able to move forward. So we'll expect to fill the procurement manager role and the manager of people and culture through a recruiter, so that we get some folks who are well suited to the roles quickly and in place. So that's the sort of the CEO update. The other thing, just the linking and following off sort of the staffing issue, you'll note in the vacancy report that we were making progress on filling vacant and available units. So the tenant services team is now up to staff, fully staffed, and sort of they're pushing through the units as expected. So they're on a positive track. You'll notice that the property services numbers are lower than target. We really have an internal target of about 30 units a month, and they hit 15 in August. And there were some planned and unplanned issues. We had some vacation schedule, but also a few resignation and a few other things that sort of just took the staff pool down to, we had about 40% of the MR team was not available through the month, which caused a sort of a slowdown on vacancies in August, and we expect them to see a better number in September and back on track for October. So we're just sort of, staffing continues to be a focus. I don't think there's been a time where we've had less than 10 open recruitments at any time in the last year. So we continue on that vein. And I think those are the updates on those 2 information items.
All right. So why don't we, before we open up for questions, why don't we get some mover and seconder to receive these reports? Someone prepared to move receipt. John, thank you. Seconded by Gary. So before we vote, any questions or comments on the 2 reports we have in front of us? Paul, you didn't mention anything on the vacancy report. Did you want to, was you going to do them both together, or did you want to deal with that?
Just had the quick comment. I think I did have a comment on the vacancy, just sort of that tenant services are having they're coming back after some staffing shortages. They're making progress against their numbers. So we see those declining, and the maintenance repair there. I think, you know, the final comment in the vacancy one is that we expect sort of late fall to be back on target for our 3% vacancy.
Great, thanks. Okay, questions and comments then on those 2 reports? Tammy, go ahead.
Okay, through you, Chair Paul, or Mr. Chisholm, I have a question about the reports from the town hall. It says that the reports would go back to the tenants following the town hall. So I'm just looking for some clarification. Are those reports going to be site specific, or is it going to be a general overview of like what you've already reported to the board of what you're hearing? I'm asking because tenants are asking, and the idea of following is sort of coming up as how immediate is this going to be?
Yeah, so our target is, you know, 3 to 4 weeks. We'll sort of get the reports ready 3 to 4 weeks after the meetings. So we're sort of trying to finalize the first 3, and then we have 2 more groups of 3 that we'll do. So that's our optimistic target, is 3 to 4 weeks. So we'll be getting those out very shortly to the first round of folks, and it will be site specific. So I think that's what matters to the tenants in that building. We'll be rolling it up differently for internally and the board and things like that, but what matters to the tenants is what was said and what they heard at that meeting themselves. That we need to build this up community by community.
Anything further?
Thank you. No, that answers it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments on those two reports? Oh, sorry, John. Sorry, go ahead.
No, thanks. Thanks. Through the chair. I think it's great. I love the whole barbecue and connecting and all that's incredible. I love the communication and engagement with the tenants. I think it's so important to have those voices informing what we do. Just some like random thoughts as I was reading this earlier. I'm just going to throw them out there just strictly for reflection, and we don't need to discuss or debate. I'm not making a motion. I wondered about the thought of partnering with the YMCA for some recreational stuff. Like, is that feasible? Is that cheaper than providing on-site services? Potential to partner maybe with hotels for that time frame in between where we're waiting on units to be restored and people are kind of in limbo. And then a thought about what other housing corps are doing to tackle like similar issues. I just wondered, I was curious if there was anything that had been done in that regard in regards to research. Or like a jurisdictional scan or anything to that effect. But anyway, those are just some reflections that I had. I think it's incredible work, and it was really great to hear about all the great things going on. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Any other questions, comments? Oh, go ahead, Councillor Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just through you, I'll share with the group that Paul and I actually had an opportunity to sit and chat with our housing manager, Mr. Dickens, and our economic development manager, Mr. Mathers, who has a role to play in that as well. And we have actually had a couple of very, very preliminary discussions about the opportunity with some hoteliers to use some spaces when there is a need to, have a tenant out of their unit for a short period of time while repairs or pest control or things like that are done. It's a process figuring out if there's an opportunity to roster some of these organizations so that we can just call as needed. If there's a more formal procurement process that has to happen. But I will share that at least a preliminary discussion has happened already because there are some folks in the private sector coming out of the social service relief funding of hotel rooms for those experiencing homelessness during COVID-19, that there might be an opportunity to partner with us in the future too. So where those things will go, that remains to be seen, but the conversation has started.
Thank you. Any further questions, comments on the two reports? No, I just, if I could just comment, I was at the meeting at Oxford Street. I think it's 304 Oxford. Am I right about that or wrong? And Tammy was there also. I thought it was very, very interesting. It was a good discussion. Staff did a great job listening, which is what you're there to do. I thought the tenants knew what they wanted to talk about, knew what they were concerned about, and they made those points clearly, but in a really, really respectful and polite manner. So I think it was a great process, at least at the meeting I was at. And John, for your, I know that the people at the meeting I was at talked about bringing services in, something like you talked about in some other services. So it was certainly something that the tenants raised, bringing things into the building that would be a benefit to the tenants. So I think there will be something coming out of that on the discussion. So your point was well taken. So that's all I have to say. But I think staff, I was really impressed with it, and it's the best way to find out, I think, about what's happening in buildings is to spend a little bit of time in there. And I think we'll all we can get a chance to do that outside of just meetings. And I think it's really, really worthwhile. So with that being said, the receipt of these reports is moved and seconded. So I'll just call for a vote on that. All those in favor? And that is passed. No in-camera meetings. We'll go on to the reports coming out of the Finance Committee. The first is staff report 2022-57, which is for modifications to a CMHC accessible unit. Mr. Renault, any comments on that?
Through the chair, this is an exciting one. It's our first foray into the modernization of units to be accessible. First batch we're learning a bit from that. The numbers are in line with what the architect had identified for the project. And they're consistent with what we've spent in the past when we're doing a full gut, a refinish. So the numbers look good. We think we can trim them a little bit. If you see the pictures that are provided for those units, they're in pretty difficult shape. And I think, as we look forward to being able to do this and get quicker turnaround times, we'll look at providing some units that aren't as badly damaged that require that additional work to bring them back into shape. But we've got to take that under some advisement right now and start considering how we're going to do this moving forward.
Thank you. So is someone prepared to move and second approval of that? Just need moved by Adrian, seconder. Gary, thank you very much. So questions or comments about that? Adrian, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Phil, when I'm looking at these pictures here, is this the condition in which they are returned to LMCH, or have you already started tearing some of these apart?
No, those are the condition they were returned to us in.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Sadly.
Shelley, go ahead.
Thank you, through you, the chair. Certainly not something I'm looking for an answer for today, but my thoughts regarding the extensive damage that you portrayed in the photos there were in this program, in this refurbishment program, is LMCH considering using different building materials, perhaps something more durable or resilient than typical studs and drywall, which appear to be quite easily damaged. So no response required. Just wanted to put that thought out there, and I'll leave it with you.
Great. Thank you very much. Any other questions, comments? There being none, then this has been moved and seconded. So I'll say ask for all those in favor. And that matter is passed. Second staff report that requires approval is CMHC Site Improvements Allen Rush Contract Award for asphalt replacement. Mr. Renaud, any comments?
Straightforward. Asphalt, as you can imagine it, a number of our family sites is in pretty rough condition, as it was at Allen Rush. This project does not complete all the work required, but it goes a great distance in getting us to where we need to be, and we'll pick up the remainder next year.
Great, thank you. Questions or comments? There being none, if I could get a mover and seconder. Moved by Shelley, seconded by John. Anything further? Then I'll call the vote. All those in favor? All right, that finishes the reports under the Finance Committee. I don't think there's anything else there. I don't think there's any new business or inquiries. Do any members of the board have any inquiries?
So sorry, through the chair, there's one more report on the Tenant Advisory Council membership.
Oh, so I'm sorry. I completely missed that, and you're quite right. So next is staff report 2022-59, which is the Tenant Advisory Council membership. We need to approve that. Is someone presenting on that or making comments?
I can just provide a quick overview. Ms. McKenzie is not available today. The Tenant Advisory Council, we've included the terms of reference in the report documents. We needed to recruit members. That process started off in April, a little slower because of the sort of where we were at with COVID. There wasn't a whole lot of in-person meetings. So there was a good outreach method by the team to sort of outreach safely to members. We had, I think, 13 applicants. The applicants were screened by a community panel and a panel that included a current Tenant Advisory Council member, and interviews were conducted based on a number of criteria. So the 3 candidates that met the eligibility criteria for Tenant Advisory Council and are recommended by that community panel are attached. We still have a number of vacancies on the Tenant Advisory Council, but it's sort of just the distribution of memberships by site and location and things makes it, we still just have to do a little more recruitment to sort of do that. And just as a heads up, there is some terms expiring of current members at the end of this calendar year, and there's a process for those folks to continue on serving. But if they don't continue on serving, we'll do another recruitment. So I think a reminder, the Tenant Advisory Council has been in play, like active for about 18 months. So they're still growing and learning, but we're really excited to get these three new members on board and move forward.
Great, thanks. Any questions or comments about that? Again, sorry for missing that. I just skipped over it.
No worries.
Nope. Can someone move and second that then, please? Just need a mover. Shelley, seconded by Gary. All those in favor? Great. New business. I don't think we have any new business unless someone, oh, yes, go ahead. Anne Marie.
So, as some of you may be aware, I've recently started a new program, and it appears that the time commitment for this program that I've started, it's a dental hygiene program, is very immense. And because of that, I am not going to be able to make it to board meetings or committee meetings. So this is probably going to be my last meeting on the board. I'm going to have to put in my resignation because I got lucky today. I was able to attend because one of my professors had to leave early, but this is a regularly scheduled class time for me. So I just wanted to say my farewell to everyone and wish you well and thank you for engaging with me on the board.
Now I get to say, was it something I said? I just got here. I know how Paul felt when I took on,
no.
so nice to see
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, no, usually I'm getting home at about 7:30, 8:30 at night and waking up at 5 in the morning. So the time commitment is just a bit much for me. And I'm not going to be able to do my due diligence in doing the readings. And I feel like somebody else is going to be able to better serve the tenants compared to me. And I can't sacrifice my education for this. So I'm going to have to step back and I apologize. But I thank you all for being wonderful board members.
No need to apologize and thank you very much for your service. Anybody want to make any comments? Shelley, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say congratulations, Anne Marie, on your continued pursuit of your education. And that's really wonderful. And I've really actually enjoyed working with you. And you brought a lot of really meaningful comments to the board. In my opinion, as a tenant, both you and Tammy have always shared a really unique perspective and we're going to miss you. So good luck. And it's our loss for sure.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Well said. Anything else? Great, thanks again for everything. Any other new business? All right, any inquiries? No. Then I guess we're looking at adjournment. So I just want to point out how much quicker my meeting was than the previous chairs in terms of time duration. So I should mention it. I'm going to anyways. Thanks, Councilor Lewis. It's always fun to have you around. So I just need someone to move and second adjournment, moved by John, seconded by Gary. And secondly, I hope to get to know those of you who I wasn't here with previously better. And anytime you want to meet with me just to discuss how things are going, I have a lot more time now. So I'm more than happy to do that. Other than the two councilors, I spent more than enough time with them. And I don't need to spend more. So have a great evening, everyone. Take care. See you soon.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.